everybody. I am here with Member of Parliament, Mike Kelloway. And Mike, always a pleasure to see you here at Telile.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here with you and to be here at Telile and with your viewers across the country.
Well, we are always happy to see you. But if you're in the area, I know there's a reason.
Well, absolutely. We this morning announced monies for seniors programming and for 4 organizations located in Richmond County. And this summer I've been going around making announcements. And the reason why I make these announcements, obviously, is to let people know about them. But it's a result of a lot of hard work with myself, my staff, and those organizations across the riding. It's so important, and in particular seniors. So we're making a lot of announcements, and over the course of the next 2 weeks, a lot more announcements with respect to seniors and food security, and just in general programs that focus on social isolation and mental and physical health for seniors in the riding. And we're so blessed in this riding to have so many organizations that are doing such great work. So we've been working on that, and of course, Becky, we were talking before we came on camera. We're talking about this past year, and we've made about $5 billion investment in Nova Scotia healthcare, which is going to be significant for the province to be able to administer it effectively over time. It's going to take time, but the province is the lead on that. But we've provided historic monies for healthcare, and I'm glad to be a part of that. And dental care and $10 a day care. The climate incentive payments are going to go out to individuals next week, and they'll come around every quarter for individuals. And the idea is that we see this no matter where we go, that because of inflation, the Conservatives will say that Justin Trudeau created inflation. It's worldwide inflation, partly caused by COVID, partly caused by, in a major way, the war in Ukraine. We understand that people are hurting, and that's why we've been putting out measures on affordability, such as the grocery rebate and other elements like, as I mentioned, the climate incentive plan to get money back into the pocketbooks of folks. That's the work that I'm interested in. And then you look in our riding and you look at the developments in the Strait area with respect to green hydrogen. This is real, Becky. This is tangible. I'm very excited about this, and as an MP for the area, playing a lead role and working with industry and working with the province and working with my own federal government to ensure that we make the right investments for Nova Scotians, Cape Bretoners, Northeastern Nova Scotian, the region, the country, and the world. I believe the world will be looking to Cape Breton for green hydrogen and offshore wind. I'm excited about it. Lots of work to do on it. But those are some of the things that are certainly getting me excited. And then next week we come back to Airshad again, Almadam.
Right on.
We're going to be making a pretty significant announcement on boat building for the area, which means jobs for the area. And that all happens because we work together.
Well, considering that, we have a long history of boat building. Absolutely. Couldn't happen to a better place.
Well, what is old is new again. Mm-hmm. We have expertise, but we also have need. And the federal government needs vessels, and we're going to provide them here in Airshad, and that's a big deal in Almadam. I always say that great things can happen in rural Canada. I'm a staunch rural constituent. I believe the best is yet to come. We have a lot of work that is going on in different pockets with respect to green hydrogen, offshore wind, boat building, tourism and hospitality, and the list goes on. But it's an exciting time, and we do have our challenges. We have our challenges with respect to child poverty. Now, the Canada Child Benefit, I think since we instituted it 7 years ago, has helped take close to 500,000 children out of poverty in Canada. Hundreds of them are in our riding, and we need to do more investments like that. Consequently, you have a Conservative leader, and I will call him Pierre, Mr. Poilievre, who talks about cutting. Cutting, slashing, and chopping is how I would describe it. If you watch Mr. Poilievre, and I want to get real for a moment in terms of politics, I think there's a definitive choice in the next couple of years when there's an election. There's a right-wing approach that looks at cutting costs, that looks at pitting people against people, region against region. We see some of the nastiness in terms of his viewpoints on LGBTQ. We see his divisiveness around taking, again, region against region and trying to get municipalities against each other. I like to think the best of people. That's my approach. But I have some concerns about this, man. I have some concerns that it is seemingly looking like right-wing politics from the United States. There are chapters that are written verbatim out of the Trump playbook. I don't think that's what Atlantic Canadians want. I think Atlantic Canadians want government to work effectively, make strategic investments in Canadians. And my concern is pretty evident from what I'm saying here. Now, what I do believe is that we need to have cautious optimism. That doesn't mean we have rose-colored glasses optimism. We look at things authentically, realistically. We have a lot of opportunity in Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotia for those watching across the country. In many instances, our population is increasing because of newcomers and people coming back. We have businesses that are starting up in our respective counties in Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotia. That is something to be proud of, but we can't stop there. So where a conservative federal party looks at cutting programs, which impacts you, I heard Mr. Polyev in the House chamber talk about we need to look at reducing the investment in EI and old age pension. He calls it a tax. What he's saying, by calling it a tax, is that the investments that we put into the kitty, he wants to lower them, which means, in my opinion, OAS and EI are not invested fully in. These are serious times. These are serious challenges. When we get to positivity, that's where I'm at. When you get to negativity, no one wins on that. We need to have debate on the issues. We need to know what plans are in place from the government perspective. But what would the opposition do? What would the opposition do on healthcare? They talk about that we need to slash spending. So is Mr. Polyev suggesting $5 billion should be cut? He's never said that. He's never come out to say what he means. For me, I get up every morning, and we've had this conversation. I get up and I think about whether I'm in Ottawa or here in the riding. How do we make this place a better place with the people that live in it? We have talented people. I just came from an event where we made an announcement for 4 community groups. Those are the leaders. Those are the people that are making things happen. I'm jazzed about the opportunities that are here. I'm going to continue to work hard for the people, and I'm going to keep communicating through platforms like this. Because when you get your news from Facebook, we talked about this. Anybody and their dog, as they would say back home, anybody and their dog can post something that looks like a story about someone, about some opportunity, about some challenge. But it's not journalism. This is cutting through, and this is cutting through the social media noise and talking about things that matter most to constituents, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Well, I think it's fantastic that all these new programs are coming. And I mean, let's face it, we all know, I know, and I'm sure you are aware, as is the rest of Nova Scotia, that this is a province that is known for working together as a team. And I'm not really sure that everybody in Ottawa understands that we are in rural communities and that rural communities act a lot differently than the cities, right?
Absolutely.
So, I see the newcomers coming, and in some rural communities, it's like, well, we don't want the from aways. Well, I see that differently. I see that as new people coming in, bringing new ideas, and I'm excited about that. That excites me.
Me too.
As far as the green energy stuff, that is fantastic.
Well, when you look at the weather events caused by the climate crisis, and climate change is here, we look at the last 10 months in Cape Breton Island in northeastern Nova Scotia. In 10 months, not a full year, we've had a once-in-a-lifetime hurricane and massive fires on the mainland. Now, what's the economic cost? If you just looked at the economic cost, put the social costs over here and the personal costs over here, we're looking at $1 billion because of Fiona, and probably it'll get to $1 billion because of the fire. So in 10 months, the cost to Nova Scotians is $2 billion. And people will say, well, climate has always been that way. No, it hasn't. This is not normal. And we need to take measures that focus on tackling the problem head on, while at the same time looking at the affordability items that impact everyday people. We could choose as a country to put our head in the sand. That's a choice. But you can only do that for so long. And we need to work with the people of Canada, people of Nova Scotia, to talk about the price on carbon, but also the carbon pricing rebates. And all the other measures that, I didn't even touch upon dental care. That's significant policy. A disability framework to ensure that in time we'll get more investments to people that have disabilities. So it's a puzzle, and you can look at one piece, but you got to look at the whole puzzle and say, this piece locks into this piece in terms of affordability. This piece does as well. It's a bit of a mosaic, and that's, multiple programs. It's not one program that is going to address affordability. But we have a climate crisis in Nova Scotia and in the world. Some people might say, well, China and India are not doing their part in terms of carbon pricing. I would agree with that. But they're also paying the price with hundreds of thousands of people dying because of poor quality air. So these are challenging times. These are transformational times. The way we bring people along, in my opinion, is having an honest conversation and not having debates on social media about it or between a premier and another federal official. It's having honest discussion around the climate crisis, how it impacts people individually, socially, and economically. And how do we mitigate emissions? And the price on pollution, right now, before the carbon pricing went into effect in July 1st, it was free for industry to pollute. Free for industry to pollute. That's wrong. But it's also wrong that people don't get the benefits of the price on carbon back to them. So the price on carbon is like this. The rebate focuses on 90% comes back to Canadians, 9% goes back to business, 1% goes back to First Nations. The government of Canada does not keep that tax. No. It goes back to people, right? Now, I won't get into provincial federal debates because I don't think that serves us well. What people expect, and every constituent in Cape Breton Council should expect this, is that the provincial government and the federal government work together. That we hash out our differences behind closed doors and we come out with the best product for Nova Scotians. That's been my philosophy. I work exceptionally well with all the MLAs in my riding. Why? Because I go to them or they come to me. We don't have debates on social media. Why? Let's get the job done. It's about getting results for Nova Scotians and Cape Bretoners and Northeastern Nova Scotians.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that whole idea and notion of dealing with things behind the scenes, working together.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. And when you post something on social media, it can get blown out of proportion to the point where it's just absolutely ridiculous and the message is lost.
Absolutely.
And then, you don't get to focus on actually addressing the problem. No. So, I appreciate that you do it that way.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm grateful to have collaborators and partners in that provincially and municipally. I work very well with all MLAs, as I mentioned. I work well with all councillors and all chiefs. Doesn't mean we don't have disagreements. Doesn't mean we don't have challenging moments. But if we keep our eye on the prize, which is helping each and every one of you, then we'll get to a better place. When we get in front of a podium and say, look at me, look, I'm disagreeing for the sake of disagreeing, that doesn't serve anybody any well.
No, it doesn't.
And it's not my style, it's not my approach.
No.
Now, my approach is sometimes aggressive, but I will never be sorry for fighting for the people of Cape Breton and Northeastern Nova Scotia, ever. And I want to pick up one thing that you mentioned. Rural Canada, rural Nova Scotia, there is, I believe, a rising tide in terms of opportunity. And we need to get behind that as everyday taxpayers, as local politicians, provincial and federal. One particular opportunity is around renewable energy. And this part of the world, Atlantic Canada, has tremendous opportunity. It will come with hard work and time. But that is the opportunity in front of us. It enables us to do things like, fund announcements in Shetty Camp that we'll be making in a couple of weeks. It'll enable us to make announcements in Pomquet that we'll be making in a couple of weeks. So, interesting times that require leadership, that require a steady hand, that require being honest and empathetic. That's been my approach from day one and will continue to be.
Cooperation.
Cooperation.
Cooperation, 100% cooperation. And I really think that, people will see the benefit. A lot of people don't like change, but, the winds of change are upon us.
And I get that.
Yeah,
Change
me
is
too.
scary, and at the same point, we are at an inflection point, I believe, in a couple of areas. The environment and how it impacts Nova Scotians, how it's impacting Nova Scotians. And also the body politic. It used to be left and right. Now it's about people that believe in institutions, believe in law and order, believe in the power of people, and those that want to tear that down. And I will tell you this, as long as I'm in this position, I'll be fighting for building people up as opposed to tearing them down.
Well, tearing people down doesn't really solve anything at all. It's not. It's not positivity.
No, positivity, and that's what we're about. That's what you're about. I mean, look at the programming that you put on Telile. It's informative. It's entertainment. It makes people feel good. I mean, I listen to the musical interludes on Telile at my home in Sydney River. You build a sense of community here, and that's what we need to do more of. And that's what we're doing in our riding. And it comes with hard work, time, commitment, empathy, but also focus.
Right, and you have to look at the future.
Absolutely.
Always, you have to look ahead all the time.
You should go where the puck is going to be.
Absolutely.
Right.
I look at economic renewal every day. I think about that, economic renewal. What can make us different from everybody else? What can help us? What can help the community around us? And I don't see it as being one small community. I see it as being a large community,
1,000%. Look, a benefit to for example, a benefit to the Halifax port, a benefit to the Melfort port, a benefit to the Sydney port is not a zero-sum game. It's not at the expense of one over the other. We need to focus on clusters. How can these work together? How can we focus on looking at new opportunities that result from being unique, sometimes being competitive, but always working together?
That's the key.
That is the key.
That's the way it was always done in the old days, Mike.
That's right.
And so
That's
that's the way it needs to continue.
Yeah.
That's not a change.
No.
It's just in the way we do it. It might look like a change.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
we do more of it, we're better. We do less of it, then we're not as good as we could be.
Well, Telile has always been good at giving everybody a voice, and we will always continue to do that because everybody has something important to say.
100%.
And I like that the audience actually gets to hear people, and not have to watch them on national television. And I like that you guys can come in here and speak.
Local media is so important. Local communication is equally important. The minute we lose that, the minute people can just go to a particular site and just get what they want, that solidifies their beliefs. As a politician, I should always be challenging my beliefs. I have meetings with people that are center, right, left, center, left, left. I'll always do that because you need to listen. You need to try to put yourself in the shoes of other people. It doesn't mean you capitulate your views. And your platform here is so important in doing that, enabling people to come and talk to you, to answer your questions, but also to be able to get an unfiltered viewpoint and updates and answer questions that are so important to people across this country.
So what announcements did you make this morning, just out of curiosity?
Well, we made 4 announcements to four different groups. So it about $82,000 in total, but enables, Kingston Memorial Hospital, for example, is one of them, and they do such great work.
Oh, they do. They do.
The Fleur-de-Lis Seniors Group is another one. We made another announcement there. And those are just 2 examples of what we did today. Now, we're going across the riding over this summer, making many more announcements because it takes time to get to that point.
Of course.
But also, you want to go to those that put so much work in to make those announcements so that the community can share in the good news, that the community can see the hard work that the community group in question put into the proposal that got the funding. We're not going to stop making announcements. I'm basically living in my car for the summer. A joke, insert joke, an irony there. But when you have a riding my size, which is quite large, you have two choices. You can do this job behind a desk that I don't think serves anybody any well, or you get out there.
It's not your style anyway.
Yeah, my style. But we have announcements coming in Shetty Camp in the coming week or two that are significant. Pomquet that are significant. Richmond County that are significant. And they're around economic development.
Perfect.
Right? So stay tuned, and you'll see them on Facebook and other media, and we'll do this again. We can do a recap.
Whenever you like.
Okay.
Anytime you like.
Sounds like a date.
Well, hey.
There you go.
Thank you so much for coming, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure to see you.
Likewise.
And you just keep moving around the way you do, because I can't see you sitting at a desk job ever.
No, I can't see that either. It's nothing but an honor and a pleasure to work with and work for people. So.
And I know you have a bunch of hard-working staff members.
I have Natasha, I have John Patrick, Connor, Megan, Tamika, and Maya.
Wow.
And they work primarily out of the local office, and I have one person in Ottawa. The best team.
So it must take a lot of people then to keep you in line, Mike.
In particular, Natasha. Yeah, Natasha does a good job at doing so. But we've got great Nova Scotians working in our riding with me, and I look at it as a team. And I'm only as strong as the work they do, and I mean that sincerely. It's a team effort, and everyone is always, every day, game on.
Well, thanks for coming again.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you again.
Okay.